We have a king with a bowl and towel. We have a king with a bowl and towel. We have a king with a bowl and towel. Servant king is Jesus. No ambiguity now. We have journeyed to Thursday. Today we're using Fred Kahn's hymn, We Have a King Who Rides a Donkey, used by kind permission of Stainer and Bell Limited London, as a springboard to think about the incident of Jesus washing the feet of the disciples. It's not every year that Passover coincides with Holy Week, but today is 15th of Nisan, and so we remember Jewish families who were not able to gather for the Seder meal last night. The account in the Gospel according to John records, Jesus got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing and wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Now the first meaning of these words is that Jesus undertook an act of service to the disciples. He did something that was possibly below even a slave's legitimate duties. There is a parallel with something that Jesus says at the Last Supper in Luke's Gospel. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. And switching back to John's Gospel, Jesus encourages the disciples to follow his lead. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set an example that you should do as I have done for you. Although some minority Christian groups did follow Jesus' instructions very literally and made foot washing an obligatory part of church life, for the most part Christians have understood these words as an encouragement to be involved in a life of caring, even to the extent that it might jeopardize the dignity of the carer. Today, all over the world, people are putting themselves wholeheartedly into caring for others who are suffering from coronavirus or who are isolated to minimize risk. Most dramatically, this is happening in hospital wards, permanent or temporary, some well equipped, some operating with the most rudimentary facilities and equipment. But it is also happening in communities, and it is good to see the church playing its part in this. But when Jesus comes to Simon Peter, there is something in the dialogue that follows that suggests there's something deeper going on here. To Peter's hesitation that Jesus should stoop this low, Jesus says, you do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. And then to Peter's continued refusal, unless I wash you, you have no part with me. Now, if Jesus' action was only modeling mutual caring, then understanding would not be delayed. So some scholars see this act of humility as an acted parable of Jesus' ultimate self-emptying on the cross. Just as Peter must let Jesus wash his feet, so you and I must let Jesus' self-giving on the cross move us, change us, liberate us, cleanse us, or else we have not yet truly become disciples. The disciples will not fully understand Jesus' action with a bowl and towel, and the extent to which Jesus is the servant king until they watch his death on a cross from afar and meet the risen Lord a few days later. But we have the privilege of knowing how the story turns out. Jesus the King is risen. Jesus the King is risen. Jesus the King is risen early in the morning.